So we're back.
I cannot unmute myself.
Okay, so welcome back everyone. And we will now be starting part 2 of our user training on the use of IEEE Xplore Digital Library. Okay, for this part, we will be tackling preparing your research paper for publication, an IEEE perspective, and publishing your research and innovation with IEEE choices and procedures. Okay, so again, I will give the floor to Sir Alex.
Thank you very much. Welcome back. Thank you so much for staying with us. So in the past 1 hour, I have gone through the process of literature review, explaining of the background of IEEE as an organization and the resource coverage of IEEE Xplore Digital Library. From the platform, you will be able to find millions of documents, publications for your research and studies. As a reader, you'll be reading top quality publications from magazines, conferences, and journals. And of course, the purpose for us to read those publications is for us to have a literature review to understand the research landscape so that we are better prepared to continue our study and research. And hopefully, ultimately, you will be able to complete your research, write a research report and summary, in which case you will prepare your paper, submit your paper, and get it published. And in this case, hopefully you publish with IEEE as well. And in IEEE, we provide multiple channels, options for you to submit your paper and get it published. For example, you can publish in the journal as a journal article, or you can submit the paper to a conference and attend the conference and get it published in a conference proceedings. So in the next 1 hour plus, I'm going to spend some time to discuss with you how this whole process works, what you need to do in order for you to prepare the paper, and what resources IEEE is providing for you to prepare your paper, and the process of submission, peer review, and get it published. So without further ado, let me start sharing my screen and bring you to the first part of the presentation I'm preparing, giving you an overview of the topics that we are going to cover. Yes, we are going to cover a lot. This shows the flow of the topics we are going to cover. Before we talk about writing researcher, master, PhD student, what are the options for us? Understanding our audience will include our editors and reviewers as well, and they are the one that is deciding whether your paper will get published. So we have to make sure that we know what they are looking for so that we can prepare the paper for the requirement, according to the requirement. We also need to format our paper according to the ethics on that. There is some submission process that is commonly used for journals and conferences. So in that case, we also need to talk about the submission guidelines. What are the procedures of selecting a journal, submitting to a journal or conference? Now, research publication is something that is important. Yeah, research paper is something that is important. And in order for us to show the research papers, in order for us to get the research papers ready, what's more important is actually about the preparation of research work. So always remember, it is not just the research, but it's not just the publication. What's more important is actually the research. So if you think about it, during the whole process of publication, you need to spend the 80% in preparing your research, and the other 20% in terms of writing the paper. So in order for you to prepare for the work, most of the time you're actually spending on conducting the research. For example, conducting the literature review and taking the notes. The important part is when you are conducting a literature review and taking the notes, you need to have a way to manage it. For example, in the past, in my old-fashioned way, I write stuff in a notebook, like an experimental logbook, right? When we are doing laboratory work. But of course, nowadays you can do the things on the computers. But no matter whether it's physical or on the computer, make sure you keep track of your progress. Because what you have done, your notes, your progress, your reference list, they are the skeletons of your research paper. So by the time you are writing a paper, you are not starting from zero. You are not recording everything based on memories. So in that case, you have something to work on. Now the draft line is very important. Always remember, whether it's physical or digital, that works. And in order for us to conduct a literature review, we need to use full text database. Now I'm mentioning full text. Just now in IEEE Xplore, I'm showing you the PDF document. That's very important. Because you don't want to read just the title and abstract, right? You need the essence of the research topic, research methods, research results, and discussions. So full text databases are important. It depends on your subjects or studies. So if you are working on engineering-related subjects, obviously IEEE Xplore is highly recommended. Computer science, artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, agriculture, pretty much anything that has to do with science, technology, engineering, IEEE is in Xplore database is very important. But of course, if you are studying in some other subjects, in that case, you may need to contact your librarians or your library databases for further information, because there are different databases for different types of resources. Now, of course, that's just the preparation, and I am not in the position of guiding you how to conduct a research. That is the job of your supervisors. While you are doing the research, what you should do is always take note. I know I have repeated for 3 times, but your note will be the skeleton of your paper. So by the time you are writing your paper, you are not starting from zero, you are not starting from scratch, but rather you already have at least 50 or 60% of your paper available. All you need to do is 2 things. One is the structure, how to put all the information into a structure. And the second one is the language. You have to craft up the language that is used to describe what you have researched for. So, but before we talk about the structure and the language, we have to understand to whom we are publishing for. This refers to the publishing options. We have 2 main types. One is a journal article. The journal article is a fully developed presentation because a journal article is looking for problem solved, question answered. If you are doing a research, you have a research topic, you have a research problem. Did you solve the problem? Did you provide a solution to the answers? If you have done that, then in that case, well, you should write for a journal article. And journal article is looking for clear conclusions, while a conference article is written while the research is ongoing. So in this sense, a conference article is focusing on 2 things. One is new research topics, new research strategies, new research methods, new research results. And the second one is direction, because the conference paper focusing on what researchers are currently working on. So the conference article actually can be written while your research is ongoing. It represents preliminary results. It gains informal feedback because you will need to attend the conference to present your findings. It may not be the final findings, but it is something that is important. IEEE has both options for you. We have the journals. We have over 200 journals. We also have more than 1,900, close to 2,000 conferences happening every year. So as a student, as a researcher, you can publish in either one of these. The challenge now is, how do we find a journal? How do we find a conference? I'm sure some of us have this question when you are looking for opportunities or publication. So in the submission process, I'm going to show you how and where you can find the journals and conferences that is related to your subjects. We also have options of publishing in open access. They provide greater visibility, rapid review process, better scope of work, a wider scope of work, as well as sometimes the institutions or government agencies will have mandate requirement for OA publications. Again, before we even talk about writing, before we even talk about preparing your paper, we need to understand your audience. Your audience are people just like you, who read, who also writes. So we are looking for people who write papers, but in the meantime, these writers are definitely readers themselves. They are engineers, scientists, educators, researchers coming from corporations, government agencies, universities, just like you, and students. Students typically will write and present at a conference before submitting a journal paper. Remember, conference can be something that you can prepare while you are still doing the research. So in this case, what we will recommend you to do is, since most of our participants today, you are master students, if you really like to publish, number one, aim for conferences. Number two, plan ahead. For example, I would like to publish a paper by end of the year, by December. Well, which means you need to find a conference that is happening before December, right? So let's say I found a conference that is happening in November. That's a good timing. However, the conference will not just accept the paper as a walk-in user. No, you don't just walk in to the conference in December, say, I have a paper, I would like to present my paper. That's not how it works. Every conference, they usually will have a timeline. They will say, okay, I will only accept paper latest by 1st of August because I need the time for review, I need to have the time to check the quality of the paper. Then in November, the accepted authors will be invited to present the paper, which means your paper has to be submitted to the conference before August, right? Which means by now, your paper better to be ready, which also means by now, most likely you have something to report in your research progress. So that's how you plan backward for your paper to be submitted to conferences. I'll talk more about this conference submission later. Another type of audience, which is very important, are editors and reviewers. And they are the ones that are saying yes or no to a paper. So editors and reviewers, they are looking for paper that is appropriate in terms of scope and level. They are looking for original materials that addresses a new and important problem. And we are also looking for research that is an extension of existing work. But this extension has to be something that is valid, that's important, that has significant impact. For example, currently there is a research, let's say there is an optimization method to optimize the signal transmission strengths of Wi-Fi 6 within the buildings. But I have a better method of optimizing the signal transmission in the buildings, but my optimization only increased by 5%. Is that important work? Well, looking at the percentage may not be. Looking at the research, the approach of achieving this better optimization, it looks like just something that has been done before. It's not like a totally new invention or totally new approach. Then in that case, although you made an increase in terms of the signal strength by 5%, it is a strength, it is an improvement, but it is not a significant extension, then in that case, I don't recommend you to publish the paper because it does not have a significant impact. It's just a continuation with other people's work. That's it. There's nothing groundbreaking. There's nothing that is really developing a new solutions. So that is also the reason why a lot of times we do have authors commenting, my research is correct, there's nothing wrong, I completed the research, but why my paper is rejected? That is because we are looking for content that is important, original material, solving a new or important problems, and is appropriate in terms of scope and level. And a lot of time editors and reviewers, they will reject papers. One of the reasons is also because the first one, right? There's nothing wrong with your research. Yes, you did show an improvement in terms of optimization or increase of signal strengths, but it's not a good fit for this particular journal because this particular journal, especially IEEE transactions, if you remember, the qualities are very high. They are looking for top-ranking publications that works on groundbreaking problems. And there are worst cases. There are possibilities where the research paper has some scientific flaws, inconclusive results, or even incorrect interpretation of the results. Fraudulent, faked experimental results. That is even worse. That is related not about research, but your research ethics as a researcher. Language does play some part. For example, the article is poorly written. So for most of us, our English is our second language. There are sometimes we need to craft up, especially our technical English skills, because we are writing for technical communication. The qualities of the article is not good enough for the particular journal can also be a reason. I will come back to the reasons where the reviewers reject your paper during the submission process. At that time, we'll be talking about preparing, finding appropriate journals for you to submit. But before you submit the article, you better make sure your article is ready, right? So that's why we need to format our article according to the essential structures of the manuscripts. So, for example, we have title, author, abstracts. So that's the beginning. Introduction, approach, results, discussion, and conclusion. That's the whole body. And followed by acknowledgement sometimes, and obviously a reference list. The title is always an effective if it's precise, concise, and descriptive. It should answer the reader's question, which is this article relevant to me? Now think about it. You are a reader yourself. When you are reading the article, why do you skip the first one? It is the first in the result list, but why you are not reading it? Why do you start reading the second one? A lot of the time is because once we check the article title, I realize, well, this article is not related to my subject. So again, this is what your reader is looking for if they are reading your title. Is this article relevant to me? So in this case, what we need to do is, when you are writing the article, try to find a title that covers your research topic, talks about what subjects your article is talking about, which grabs the author's attention. And next, if we move on to the structure abstract, the abstract is pretty much just a summary of the article. Generally, we will recommend you to write the abstracts at the end of the whole writing. You write your paper first. You write your introduction, methodology, results, conclusion. But once you have done that, you come back, you read your paper. You consider yourself as a reader. You are required to read a summary of the article. Then you write a summary. That summary is the abstract. It will cover what you have done, what research you have done, why did you work on this research problem, and what results are you getting. Is it impactful? Why is it impactful? So that is exactly why authors write abstracts for the readers to read the abstracts. The same, when you are reading the article, you will read the abstracts to decide whether you want to read the full text. Keywords, generally you can use the keywords that is use your references as well. And this is the only part in the article where you can copy and paste. For example, I find one of the references is using some of the keywords that is directly related to my subject. I can copy and paste that keywords in my article. That is the only time you can copy and paste. Not any other time, not in any other sections. Because if you are writing, for example, in introduction, you need to explain the prior known historical studies, the current research landscape. Please don't copy and paste. You need to paraphrase, you need to rewrite what other researcher has done so that they provide the ladders, the steps to bring your readers to your research hypothesis, and which you explain how you solve the problem, what research result you are getting, and how your paper is structured. So if you are talking about journal articles, generally your introduction should be less than 2 pages. In fact, 1 page, maximum 1.5, because your reader will need more space to understand how you solve the problem, which is the methodology. In this section, you explain how you formulate the problem, how you formulate your solutions, what's the process, what's the procedures, experimental design, simulations, how you design the simulation, what parameters you are using, what evaluation criteria are you using for the simulations, and etc. And in order for you to explain how you solve the problem, you should use illustrations. So in this case, use tables, use diagrams, figures, charts, flow charts, anything that helps you to explain how you solve it. And always remember, what you are writing is for your readers. And your reviewers, they are your readers as well. They will need to read your methodology to understand how you solve the problem. If they don't understand how you solve the problem, they will either come back with questions or straight away they will reject your paper. So please pay a lot of attention in this section. Normally what I would recommend you to do is, you write your methodology portion, then you just bring your research problem and your methodology, just these 2 components. Not your results, not your discussion, no. Just your research problem and your methodology. You bring these 2 components to either your supervisor, or if you have a close friend who is also studying the same subject, you ask him to read just this part. You ask him, do you understand how you solve it, how I solve the problem? If he said, yeah, your writing is very clear, you did A, B, C, this is the procedure, that means you are very good. Your portion for methodology is very clear. Other people can understand. That's very important. That's a very simple way to check whether your methodology explains clearly how you solve the problem. Of course, you need to report your results and the discussions, and in this portion, report your results as a summary. For example, if you are conducting laboratory experiments, which most of us will do, you have your experimental data. How do you report it? You have 30, 50 data. Please do not just put a table with 50 numbers. No, it doesn't make any sense. Remember, these data are not for you, but for your readers. You need to find a way to summarize the data, put it in a table, in a diagram, in a chart, to explain the trendings, the findings, the observations from the data. And that's where the discussion kicks in. You can use all these figures, tables with narratives to illustrate what the data means and why this data explains, proof or disprove your hypothesis. That's the thing you are working on. And furthermore, in the conclusion, you can also explain what research has achieved. Remember, we are looking for a research problem, and we are looking for the solutions, the answers to the problem. And conclusion will explain what you have achieved. Did you provide the answer? And what does it mean? What's the benefit of the solution presented? If there is certain limitation, which usually is the case, explain about the limitation. Now, the limitation is not a bad thing. If you as a researcher are able to identify and clearly define the limitation, that also shows you the quality of your research, because you know what has been done, you know what has not been done, you know what can't be done. That is very important. Furthermore, you should also suggest with your piece of research to where you can extend the research work. That is also important because you are suggesting future areas of research. Again, not just for you, but also for your readers, because your readers will also be reading your conclusions. There's always a reference list. Please don't do it manually. Use a software. If you do not know what software I'm talking about, ask your librarians. Go to your library, ask them, sir, ma'am, I need some help with references. They will tell you what software to use. They will teach you how to use those softwares and use those softwares to manage your references. So if you are typesetting in Word or LaTeX, IEEE has these templates available. So what I'm going to show you now is some of the basics of LaTeX typesetting. IEEE has this service called article templates. So in this section, we provide the templates for the journals and conferences. So we have both the Word as well as LaTeX. Now, LaTeX is pretty much a typesetting language meant for mathematics. And since today a lot of us are engineering, so I'll spend a little bit of time on this. If you are typesetting for professional engineering journal articles, I will recommend you to learn a little bit about LaTeX, because a lot of journals, they will require you to submit your paper in LaTeX generated PDF. And the example of the basic elements of a LaTeX document looks like this. On the right-hand side is the final PDF. It's all text with mathematical equations, but the way of typing it is actually using code. That's difficult, right? As a lot of us are saying, oh, am I doing computer programming? No, you are not. We have a lot of softwares available which you can install on your computers, or you can use it online, you can check it out. So this helps you because LaTeX is what you mean is what you get. If you want the word to be italicized, it can be italicized. And furthermore, a lot of university computers, they will have LaTeX installed by default. You can download different packages for different softwares, different platforms. We also have online websites like EnggLib, which you can use together with it. Some of the basic LaTeX, I'm not going to go through all this, but I will point you to some of the resources, sectioning, lists, tables, references, different packages. I will show you a platform in IEEE Xplore. So in IEEE websites, you can find information on LaTeX. So for research ethics, I'm going to talk a little bit about the publication ethics only, because research ethics itself is an even broader topic. I'm going to focus on two. One is plagiarism. We should be able to avoid plagiarism if you are writing everything by yourself, which means you're not copy and pasting. If you are citing other people's research work, you should provide proper citations. And we don't just copy exactly what the author is saying, we should paraphrase it. There should be duplications. Again, we always come back to IEEE Xplore Digital Library. Okay, I think the IEEE Xplore homepage is still being loaded. Some of you might be asking, hey Alex, I'm talking about paper submission. I want to submit to a journal, I want to submit a conference. Why are you showing me IEEE Xplore? I thought IEEE Xplore is for reading articles. Yes, it is, but do you know that if your paper is published, it will be published and available in IEEE Xplore as well. So IEEE Xplore is your home and the home of your future articles as well. So why am I bringing you back to IEEE Xplore? Because in IEEE Xplore, you can find publications that are related, right? So let's say, use back the on this. So, but imagine now I have done my research. My research is ready. My paper is ready. I would like to find a journal to submit to. How does that work? Well, we are talking about journal paper, right? So let's look at the journal papers. So now we have 5,000 journal articles. And out of these 5,000 journal articles, now I want to find out what journal is actually publishing these articles. And geoscience. Remember earlier we have some participants who are interested in geoscience. So it's not only geoscience, but also transportations and AIs. Right. And Open Journal on Intelligent Transportation System. Transactions on cybernetics. So all these journals, they actually publish articles that is related to AI and transportation. So all these journals are your potential candidate for submission. I'm sure a lot of you are asking, I have a paper, which journal should I submit to? Well, these are only limit to this particular journal. Now, what you need to do now is you need to do quite a lot of reading, because you have your paper, you know what research you have done, but you don't know what levels of research the journal is looking for, research that is being published, and most cited by papers or by patents. Right, so these are the ones. And by reading at the newest, the latest, most cited by papers, you will be able to identify the research paper that is most impactful, the most recent, as well as the one read by most of the people. Your job is to read, but in this case, it's not just reading for the content, but also assessing the level of difficulties.
Recording in progress.
So at this time, you are reading. You are not just reading for the articles. At this time of reading, you are not just reading for the articles, you're not just reading for the content, but rather you are accessing the research level of that particular article. Because these are articles that has been accepted and published by the journal, obviously there's a reason why they're accepted. What types of research is the journal looking for? What levels of research is the journal is looking for? So in this case, read with a different pair of eyes. You're not just learning about what the article is, what the content is, but rather you are doing an assessment of the articles. You're also doing the assessment of the journal. Because after you have read 10, 20 of the paper that is published in this journal, you will have roughly an idea of what types of paper the journal is publishing and what's the level. For example, if I'm reading one of these articles and I realize that I have read the article 5 times, I'm still a little bit blurred of what exactly the research. I don't understand the paper. It's too difficult for me. Then you move on and you realize that out of the 30 paper you have done this kind of screening, 20 of them, more than 2/3 of them is difficult for you. Well, then you better ask yourself, is my paper, is my level of research on par with the paper that has been published. Because, I don't understand it. Looks like this journal is looking for something that is more important, more difficult, or more groundbreaking than my research. So this is one simple way of assessing the level of the journal, right? You can do it with multiple journals. Of course, you need to spend, again, a lot of time doing the readings. So, but let's say you have done the reading, you realize that it looks like the existing publications does cover my areas of research. And I'm confident that my research level is pretty much there. Well, the next step, look for submission, right? All you need to do is click on the journal's homepage. Click on the journal's name, which will bring you to the journal's homepage. Can you remember this page earlier? Xplore demonstration, I brought to you to this page, which will tell you the impact factor, eigenfactor, article influence score, and everything. And all you need is this, submit manuscript. Just click on submit manuscript. You will be brought to a home page. You will be brought to a page where you are required to submit the paper. Okay, let me try again. Okay, so all you need to do is click on submit manuscript. You will be brought to this homepage. Of course, you are required to log in. You will need to have an account to log in, but don't worry, all you need to do is create an account. Right? It's a very smooth process. Just create an account. You will be able to log in and start submission. Now, submission of paper is as simple as sending out an email. If you are sending out an email, you will need to have the recipient's email address, the subject of the email, the body, the attachment, that's it. The same here. The system will ask you what is the title of your article, what is the abstract, do you want to upload your full text? Obviously, you want to do that, right? Just follow the procedure, a few steps, then submit the article. That's it. If you need any help in terms of submitting to the journals, there are always FAQs and user guides available. And during the office hours, and this is the New York time, the United States time, there are live chats available for you to help you to use this platform as well. The platform is very easy to use. And this is how you submit to a journal. All you need to do is identify the journal, as what we have done during the lives. During the search here, look for publication titles. These are all your potential choices. And once you identify one of the journals, go to the journal homepage, submit the manuscript. Now the next thing is, how about for conferences? Conference is a little bit different. If you recall what I shared with you earlier, you need to look out for the dates, the time. But before we talk about the time, it's a similar story. We need to look for what conference is actually covering my research. So in this case, I have 10,000 papers published in various different conferences. So what exactly are these conferences? So scroll down, again, publication title. All these are different conferences that are publishing research related to my subjects. So for example, you realize that in 2022, last year, the year before last year, and the year before that, there is consistently this conference called ITSC, International Conference on Intelligent Transportation Systems. This conference is happening every year, and every year it has a lot of publications on this topic. So now, do you know which conference covers this subject? Obviously, the platform is telling me, look out for this conference, right? But then the problem is, conference is happening every year. Last year, the year before last year, but The only problem is we can't travel back in time. No, I wish there's such a time machine which I can go back to my secondary school, but it's not happening. So why am I doing this? Well, the reason is because I'm looking for a conference that is happening this year or the year after that. So in order for me to find conferences that is happening in the future, I will bring you to this website. On the top left corner of the whole web page, it says IEEE.org. This is the IEEE homepage. It has all the information you need about IEEE, and one of them is conferences. Under conferences, we have upcoming conferences. This is a list of all the IEEE upcoming conferences that is being planned. As of now, we have 1,318 conferences. And I bet you next week you come back and check, that number will be increasing. And what I'm looking for is this conference called ITSC. I will do a search to see if this conference is happening. And yes, it is happening this year. It is happening next year as well. So let's check about the conference that is happening this year, right? 2 months from now. You click on it. It brings to this website, and additionally, there is this conference website. So this is the conference homepage of this particular conference, and it has all the information you need. When this conference is happening, where it's happening, but of course, most importantly, if you look at contribute, it says call for paper. This is very important, right? So if you look at this portion, call for paper, it has all the information you need as an author, because your aim is to submit a paper. For example, the deadline. Okay, important deadlines. In February, you're supposed to send the proposal. By March, you're supposed to send the proposals for a workshop, but I'm looking for paper, right? So here, submission deadline for regular, special session, and workshop papers, which means by May, which is 2 months ago, you're supposed to send in your paper for this conference. Now we missed the boat, right? Yes, it's happening 2 months from now in the future, but the conference is no longer accepting paper. And that is why I'm telling you, if you plan to publish a conference, you need to plan ahead, way ahead, at least half a year ahead, because the acceptance deadline is different. But let's check out other information, right? Call for paper. On the left-hand side, they'll explain what this conference is, and this is conference paper template, etc. And here you can submit your conference. If you click on this, this is every conference usually have a website which you can log in and submit your paper. But of course, in this case, submission deadline for manuscript is May 15th. Sorry, you are late. See you next year. Right? So that's why for this conference, you missed the boat. So if we return to our search result, remember there's another conference happening next year. So let's check about the one that is happening next year. Again, this conference is happening in September, 14 months from now. So as of now, the conference website is not available. You see, in here there's no conference website, which means this conference is not open to accept your paper yet. But what you need to do is, you need to bookmark this page. Call for paper deadline is this year. It is happening next year, September, but deadline is this year, November. So that's how conferences are being organized. You should bookmark this call for paper deadline in your calendar. Make sure your paper is ready by this date. Then when the conference website is open, you can go to the website, submit your paper. That's how you can submit to conferences. Again, everything is back to IEEE Xplore. How do I find the conference? It's in here. Right. Another way of searching for conferences is under, so if we come back to search, I can refine the search by location. For example, I'm looking for conferences happening in certain countries. I'm looking for all the international conferences. And we have something that is happening in different countries. In nearby, let's say Thailand, right? So there are conferences happening in Thailand. There's 12 of them. A lot of them are happening this year, September, October, December. There's an international conference on robotics. Again, click on it. There is always a conference website. And we have the programs, we have the registration. What you are looking for is the submission, right? Welcome to the conference. Again, look for the important date. Submission of regular, original full paper is July 15. Well, you still have 1 week from now to submit your paper. So for conference, you always need to search for conferences way ahead. You can't do it like this. Today is Friday, right? You're supposed to submit by next Friday. Are you able to finish writing your paper in 1 week? I can't do that. So please, if you are interested in submission in conference, plan ahead. So that's the submission process for conferences and journals. Again, allow me to bring you to another website. Now we talk about submission to journals, submission to conferences. If you are interested in submitting to a journal publication for a journal paper, we have this option allowing you to submit as open access. If you would like to know about open access publishing with IEEE, I would like to bring you to this information portal called IEEE Open. This is the website that provides all the information you need. For example, what is open access? How does open access work? And what are the options available to author on open access? IEEE provides 3 open access options: full open access, hybrid open access, as well as the mega multidisciplinary research. IEEE Access. So all the informations are available here. If you want to know more about the benefit for authors, they are all available here as well. And we have publishing options, information for authors regarding APCs available. The last but not least, I would like to bring you to, again, another information page, which is IEEE Author Center. If you can't remember the name, the URL, you just remember the name, which is IEEE Author Center. You can just do a simple Google search, IEEE Author Center. This pretty much covers everything I have shared today as an author. For example, if you like to publish in journals. How to create your journal article. Submit the tools available, creating a text, creating graphics, preparing your manuscripts, preparing supplementary materials. How to submit your paper. How to choose a publication. We have all these tools available. We have all those templates available for you as well. They are all here. We also have conference authors available on this page as well. So if you forget everything I have told you today, I'm sure you will. If tomorrow morning you have a question regarding how to submit to a journal or conference of IEEE, you can't find the answer, please come to IEEE Author Center. It has all the information for you. Preparing the paper, submitting to a journal, submitting to a conference, how does the peer review process works. We even have some videos to explain to you about the writings, the peer reviews, the publications. All right, that's what I have for the second portion of our sharing. I hope you are still with me. Thank you so much for your time, and I'm returning the mic to Ms. Lance. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Sir Alex, for that very comprehensive discussion about publishing. Okay, and at this point, we have 3 questions so far, sir. Okay, so first, as previously mentioned, the acceptance of journal articles may take time. Is it okay to submit our paper to multiple journals and just select one in case we receive multiple affirmations from our submissions?
That's a very good question. If I may use an analogy of the question, I think, for example, let's say I'm a student. I would like to apply for my PhD degrees, PhD programs. How do I apply? Do I apply to one school and wait for the results? How many of us does that? I just apply to one school and wait. If I get accepted, I will go. If I don't get accepted, I move to the next. Nobody does that, right? What I will do is I will apply as many as I want. I can apply 10, 20. If you have the budget, you can apply to 100. Then maybe 10 of them accept me. I can still decide which university I want to go. That's what students does. However, when it comes to publications, that's not how it works. If you have one research paper, you are supposed to just submit that one paper to one journal or one conference. That's it. You wait for the answer. You may be asking why. Now, the whole idea of scientific communication, scientific publishing is we only publish original research. We do not publish research that has been published before. We do not publish research that has been done before. So that's the idea of why we are keeping our researchers. If you have one paper, if you are submitting a paper to not just IEEE, any publisher, at the time of the submission, they will ask you to acknowledge, is this the first time you are submitting this research paper? Is this the only venue you're submitting to this paper? And by default, you should say yes, otherwise they won't accept it. So that's how it works. We're only publishing research that is new research. And that is what's behind. And the question, I believe it has been answered. So we don't recommend you to submit your papers to multiple journals. And that is a common practice of IEEE, and I believe a lot of the reputable publishers. If you want to publish your paper to multiple journals, then in that case, you may not want to send that paper to IEEE, because that's not how we do things. Thank you.
Okay, so the second question is actually related to the first one. Can you expand again on why it is unethical to submit to multiple journals at once? Wouldn't it allow your paper to become better, if ever, since you're gonna have a variety of criticisms?
You will not be having a variety of criticism because your paper won't be accepted. Because publishers don't do that. If you submit a paper to multiple journals, if let's say you're lucky you get accepted, but then they realize, hey, your paper is published twice. What will happen is both publishers will withdraw your paper. They will remove your paper. That's why this is called publication ethic. It's the same as I'm faking my data to make my experiment to be perfect. You might be lucky, sometimes the reviewer didn't catch you in the first time, but hey, come on, we are all researchers. Your readers will caught you. And once you are caught, your paper will be retracted. Furthermore, your name will be on the blacklist of the publishers. So that's why nobody does that. If you have one paper, submit to one venue. It's the same as people don't copy and paste. People don't, plagiarize. That's why it's called publication ethics. I hope that answers the question.
Okay, so our next question was sent through, I think, private message. So when selecting a research topic, do you recommend considering popular and highly searched subjects and aligning with the current trends, like artificial intelligence? Is it necessary for research topics to be complex? Any tips on finding a good topic?
I think that's a three-stage question, and in my capacity, I'm at no capacity to answer either one of them. The first one, should I choose a popular topic? The second one, how do I make my topic to be up to date, to be relevant? The third one, which is, and the third aspect is?
Current trends.
Current trends. Let me read that.
Sorry, this one.
Right.
Yes.
So is it, the third one is there any tips in finding a good topic? That part, for all the 3 parts, the best supervisor is your professor. I'm not at the position of answering that one because it really varies between subjects. I have been doing a lot of training this week. Every university I'm going, most of the students will say, I'm interested in artificial intelligence. But to be honest, what do you know about artificial intelligence? Do you have any fundamental knowledge of computer science? Do you know about algorithms? Do you know about scheme? Do you know about database? Do you know about text mining? If there's no basic fundamental knowledge of any of these subjects, artificial intelligence is just a fancy word. It doesn't mean anything. So my recommendation is what you should after is not popular, fancy, trendy. No. You should after 2 things. One, what are you good at? Are you good at mathematics? Are you good at physics? Are you good at electrical? Are you good at mechanical? Second one, what do you want to do? That's the 2 things you should be working on. Not on fancy, not on popular. Again, for the exact answer to those 3 questions, please refer to your supervisors. They know your capacity. You can share your interest with them. Then they will guide you how to find a good research topic. I hope I answered a little bit of the question, but again, please refer those questions to your supervisors. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for answering that question, sir. Let's go back to the first question actually about submitting to multiple conferences. If our paper is not accepted, could we possibly then submit to a different conference instead?
That's a very good question. I was thinking to save that to the last because just now people are asking about multiple submission. The answer is no, you can't do that. But sometimes, unfortunately, I submit to a journal or conference, my paper gets rejected. What should I do? Well, now is the time learning conference also covers Internet of Things. The second thing is, please check out what is the requirement of that conference. For example, your original paper is 6 pages. It's written in APA citation style. But the new conference you have found, their requirement is they will only accept paper that is less than 4 pages. And the citation style is in Chicago style. So in that case, you need to redo your paper to trim it down to 4 pages, reformat the citation and references.
Finished in a journal, will that not be considered self-plagiarism?
Again, very good question. We finally brought up the topic of self-plagiarism. When we are talking about the publication ethics, remember that 2 main concepts. One is plagiarism, another one is multiple submissions, right? We don't do any one of them. So when we talk about plagiarism, it means I'm copying and pasting from other researchers. But how about, I'm not copying and pasting from anyone else. I'm copying and pasting from my previous work. Can I do that? Well, there is no straight answer of no. You can't refer to your prior research, but only under the condition that your prior research is directly contributing to your existing research. Obviously, as a researcher, your current research is definitely built upon what you have done earlier. No need to say, right? That's how, as a researcher, you grow. But it doesn't mean that every time you have a new paper, you always cite your own paper in the past. That's not how people work. And in fact, if you always do that, that means you are not doing anything new. You're just doing or repeating what you have done before. Now, that's the second part. Now, the first part, if I have a conference paper published, can I submit the paper to a journal? The answer is both a yes and no. Let me answer the no part. If your journal paper is just a continuation of the 4 months, you will be having new results. But what we are looking for is, other than the research results, how about the research topic? Did you actually work on a newer or more specific research topic? How about the research method? Are you still using the same approach you are doing in the conference, or are you using a slightly improved, a new approach? Remember, in scientific communications, in technical publishing, we are only looking for new stuff. We are not looking for things that is published twice. And bear in mind, once your paper comes in, your paper will be going through the plagiarism test checking as well, right? We'll be looking at the similarities, and your conference paper is there. If the similarity is very high, your paper will be rejected. So that is the no part. The yes part, I think I also answered. We are looking for new things. If your research topic, research question is new, it's improved, it's more specific, you have a new approach in terms of directions in research methods, then yes, we will be able to at least take your journal paper under review. Whether it's accepted or not, that's a different story. But at least you can submit the continuation as a journal paper. Yeah. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, sir. And then we have another question. What part of your study should you emphasize during conference presentations and in your manuscript, especially that papers typically run at only 6 pages?
Huh. That is actually a challenge a lot of students are facing when they are writing conference papers. Now I'm telling you, conference paper is short. A lot of people are thinking, hey, short means it's easy to write, isn't it? So, easy to write, is that the case? May not be the case. Just as this question is bringing up. You know, a conference paper typically runs only 6 pages. Sometimes it's 4 pages, you'll be surprised. So which part should you study? Now, you should understand why people write conference paper and why people attend conference. If you have been paying attention when I was explaining the publishing options, the journals and conferences are looking for 2 things. One is new, another one is trend. New means new research topic, new research methods, new research directions. Then trend is what's the current direction, what's the current strategy of conducting the research in this area. So depending on your research, you should be focusing on this. Did your conference paper report the new research topic? Did your paper explain the new research methods or directions you are using to apply to solve the problem? If you are getting, which you should be getting preliminary results, what kind of analysis are you performing on the results? For example, nowadays, we are talking about research data mining, etc. You need to use R to write a code, right? Different Python packages to analyze the code. So did you have some innovations of using a new code or new approach? Or even better, you write your own Python code or algorithms to analyze the data. So that is what your author is looking for. Always remember, your paper is writing for your authors. They are looking for new stuff. So ask yourself, do you have something new? What is the new things you have? Then you focus on emphasizing, presenting that part. The new part that you have achieved, that's what you should focus on when you are writing a conference paper. I hope that answers the question.
Okay, and I think this is the last question for now. I am used to leverage EDAS in submitting papers to conferences. Which method is advisable? So I think it is
EDES?
EDAS.
Is this a... okay.
Conference and journal management system.
Okay, I think this is about what system you should use. But now I'm assuming you are asking from an author's perspective. So for example,
Sorry, you were all right.
Yeah.
Resume, sir.
yeah. So I think this is a manuscript submission system. It's like I want to send let me use a simple analogy. I want to send an email I want to send a letter, a physical letter to United States. Which one should I use? Should I use by air, by sea, by cargo? To be honest, I don't care. Whichever that achieves it, whichever the US custom will allow me to send it. Now, I'm an author. I want to publish. I want to submit my article to a journal. I don't care what the system the journal is having. Whatever the system, the journal is using, I have to submit using that system. You can't say, hey, I'm familiar with another platform, can I submit to that? Well, the journal is using a different platform. Do you want to do that? I'm not sure whether that answers the question, right? Because based on my understanding, this EDAS is an online paper submission system. Is this a good one to use? I'm not sure. But again, it depends on the journals, it depends on the conferences. What you should be after is not which platform to use. You should be after is what journal or what conference I should submit to. If the conference using system A, then I will submit my paper through system A. If the conference is using system B, then I will just submit through system B. Because to me, to ask the author, that is just a tool of submission. I hope that answered the question, but if I did not, please follow up with additional explanations on this particular question, because this is the first time I was asked on that. Thank you.
Okay, we hope all of the questions were answered. And like Sir Alex said, if you have any follow-up questions, you may send us an email, library@englib.upd.edu.ph, or you can also contact Sir Alex personally. I believe, did you give your email address?
Let me, okay, maybe it's easier. Let me send this one, training@IEEE.org.
Okay, Sir Alex also sent his email address to the chat box, so you can refer to that. Okay, so I think that's all the questions for today, and it also concludes the training, and I think this was a very fruitful training session. And before we say goodbye to everyone in attendance in our Zoom and FB live stream, I would like to inform you that we have an evaluation form that will be sent by our team in the chat box, so kindly fill that out. And to the ones who weren't able to log into the Zoom room, we can also send an email to the evaluation form so that you can receive an e-certificate for your participation. Okay, so
okay, I do have one, if I may allow. I think, yeah, the evaluation form is sent through the chat. But in the meantime, if you are still online, if you haven't left yet, I hope you don't. Remember in the beginning of the session, I did ask everyone to participate in a mentee survey. Let's go through this list. These are all your questions that you have asked so far. And yes, this session is still on. I kept it for 2 hours, 2.5 hours. I just want to make sure I have addressed all your questions. So if we may go through the list again, this is what you have asked since the beginning, 2.5 hours ago, right? You're asking about how to use IEEE Xplore and how to publish the research, use the Xplore efficiently, how to publish journals, if except outside the subjects. I believe I also talked about the subjects coverage, not just engineering or computer science. Systematic literature review, we talked about that. Literature review and trim down the search results. That's exactly what we did, right? From 6 million to a few hundreds. Smart techniques in terms of searching, how to access published papers. For free, okay, this one is depending on your universities. Your university has a subscription, then you don't have to worry about it. If your university don't have the subscription, you please talk to your librarians. Your librarian will try to get them for you, right? So I do have a few things to check, which is, I briefly mentioned about this open access, which means you are able to publish your articles in a wider group audience, wider audience group, as well as a faster review period in terms of hybrid open access traditional journal comparing to traditional journals. So if you are given the option, will you consider publishing in open access? I think so far there's only one. Again, if I may remind you, if you don't participate, there's no certificate. All right? So yes, about half of us is like not sure. I'm not sure whether I'm going to publish in open access. Okay, some of us are saying, more of us are saying yes, I will consider in publishing open access. Let's see what's the number, how many of you are still on the line. And this number will not lie, right? So far, 15 of us are still awake. And for the rest, if it's your friends, send them a message, wake them up. I would say about 3/4 of us will consider publishing open access. The rest is not sure. We have one which would rather stick in traditional publishing. Okay, we get 30. That's 1/3. I will move forward. Any questions and feedbacks? I think there is an evaluation form, but that form is sometime later. But as of now, I'd like to check with you if there's any further questions or feedbacks. Is the session relevant? Is it useful? Okay, I think I'll leave this to you. The last one is much easier. I promise this is the last slide. We did share a lot in today's sharing session because I was given a difficult task to cover a lot of content. So if you look at an overview of what we have done today, we started with understanding the different types of papers, the magazines, the conferences, the journals, how to use the platform, ending my sharing, and I'll pass the mic to our MC. Yeah, Ms. Lab. Thanks.
Recording in progress.
Okay, so thank you, Sir Alex. That was very interactive and very comprehensive, and we hope that our participants learned a lot from these sessions. We covered a lot of topics, 4, and I hope that it was a fruitful training session at your end, and we hope that you can use this for your research as engineering students and as researchers. Okay, so, and with that being said, that concludes the end of our user training on the use of IEEE Xplore Digital Library. On behalf of UP College of Engineering Library and Engineering Research and Development for Technology, thank you very much for joining us this afternoon, and we hope to see you again next time in our future events in the library and for ERDT. Thank you very much, Sir Alex,
Thank you.
for joining us
Thank you.
this
Thank you.
afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.